Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 92-87 loss to the Boston Celtics in a Game 7 that definitely wasn't exciting, definitely wasn't as, well, I guess it was pretty intense, but didn't live up to the expectations as the one did last year in the second round. But Riker, before we get into this game and all that, before we get into a lot of the sad parts about this game, the Raptors had a phenomenal season this year. No one really expected anything from this team after Kawhi Leonard left, and even with a star emerging in Siakam, then really struggling in the playoffs, especially again in a series like this, the team pushed it to Game 7. The entire series, the Raptors, I think, played harder. They played really tough, gritty in a lot of the games, but the Celtics really controlled this series in a lot of ways. It was the Raptors kind of fighting uphill most of this one, and the fact that they pushed this to a Game 7 with everything that went on. That Game 6 last one was just a tremendous moment in Raptors history, the OG shot. This was a great season for the Toronto Raptors, even in this sort of sadness we're going to be in right now for the next few days. You got to give credit to the Toronto Raptors right now for the remarkable season they had this year.
Yep, and kudos to the Boston Celtics. They played tough defense, and this is a team that a lot of people were counting on to potentially make a run at the NBA Finals this season, and now they have the opportunity to go and maybe beat the Heat. Looks like they probably have a good chance to do that as well, and then take on what looks like is going to be the winner of the two LA teams facing each other. So nothing to be ashamed of this season, I would say, as a Toronto Raptor fan, except for, well, you said it yourself. There was no real expectations from anyone else except for Raptors fans. So this one stings a little bit among our own fan base, but like I said, if you take a step back, you're right. It's not a bad season.
Yeah, it was a great year. Lowry had some more great moments showing he's a true Hall of Famer, even though tonight did get fouled out, but did look solid in the fourth when he made a couple of runs. But I guess we can touch on this game, stuff that happened, but we can talk about the series as a whole. And Siakam, he did have some nice shots down the stretch in this one, but again, the turnovers really killed us in this game. And even when he had guys like Grant Williams on him with no doubles, just a couple little pitch-ins, he got flustered around the rim and passed it right to Celtics players. And this series was I think what this series really came down to, and we saw it last year, is you need to have the best player on the court. You need to have the guy that can really just take over, and it's been proved before, and Jason Tatum proved to be that player in this series. Hopefully Siakam can come back, because we know how he can improve over long extended breaks. Didn't happen during the pandemic break, but apparently he didn't touch a basketball. But Spicy P, he got really outplayed by Tatum, and it wasn't really close in this series.
No, and it's funny because the best player is usually the most consistent player, and the games that the Raptors did win, it was coming from different ways, different methods of scoring, different players stepping up and having a big game. And the reason that they lost this game was turnovers, obviously, but that wasn't the case in the other games. Like, if you look at the other three losses in the series, you wouldn't point to turnovers being the main factor. So in both wins and losses, they were all for different competing reasons, and that brings it back to your point. With a true superstar on your team, their steadiness, their consistency, it levels it out. So you're gonna win by one particular thing, or you're gonna lose by that. This Raptors team, it was constructed that way, that you never know what you're going to get, because it's a team in essence. And tonight it's unfortunate because the defense was really good, held Boston to 92 points down the stretch. There was some terrific man-to-man defense and some good switches. Boston played great defense as well, but the amount of points they scored off of turnovers tonight, that was the reason that they won. There's no two ways around that, Ben. And Jason Tatum, terrific, but this one, it's still tough. It's still tough because it didn't come out to be a shootout. It wasn't a shootout at the end. It was just errors.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was an ugly finish to this game. Looked promising. They went down big and then they scrapped their way back. And that sort of last stretch was sort of symbolism to how this series has sort of gone. And Fred VanVleet with that last shot, I definitely getting the DeMarre Carroll gold star from me. And I guess that's the OG's play, and then you can sound off on the DeMarre Carroll gold star because there's one that's clearly is going to be that. But down the stretch, we just made poor decisions, and Fred VanVleet with Grant Williams on him down 3 decided to take a step back, got blocked. That was just that was a tough moment, and Fred had a solid game in this one, 20 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. I don't mind that he was the one to take the shot, especially with Lowry off the court, but just you got to get a better look than that.
You got to get a better look. You got to call timeout in that possession as well. I mean, if you were to draw something up, there's no way that that's what it would have played out to be. If we're talking about, things that were erroneous down the stretch, you can point a lot of fingers, Ben. Right? Mm-hmm. There was a lot of, I mean, what's the golden rule of passing? Ideally, you don't pass while you're in the air because, you limit your options. You most often than not, you're telegraphing where you're going. So turnovers down the stretch, the big OGs or the big DeMarre Carroll gold star is obviously a missed box out by Norman Powell, and a perimeter guy comes in, gets the offensive rebound, knocks down 2 free throws when it would have only been a 2-point game. Like you said, Fred VanVleet not getting a good look, not looking at anybody else to pass it to, Nick Nurse not calling a timeout. But you know what? All credit to Boston as well. They hit the shots when it mattered. And it's funny, too, because a big point was the guys looked tired out there tonight. But Boston played a tighter rotation tonight, and their guys played just as many minutes in the last game. So It's not even like that's a real point that you can bring up in this one, Ben.
Yeah, there's no excuses. And the player I do want to give credit to on Boston is Marcus Smart. This whole entire series, no matter who he was guarding, looked shook, wasn't able to take him, unless it was Serge Ibaka on the post, but obviously Serge Ibaka is a 7-foot center. But whether it was Siakam, Fred, Lowry, OG, and even though Lowry had a really good series, if Marcus Smart was on one of those guys, they were just completely neutralized. And down the stretch of this one, I believe the Raptors are down by 2, maybe, Riker. Yeah, correct me in the comments, or you correct me if I'm wrong. But Norman Powell came in the same vein of Game 6, where Norman Powell, obviously the height advantage on Smart, he could have, came in and challenged him. It worked in Game 6. Marcus Smart was not having it in Game 7. Blocked him clean at the end of this one. Did catch him on the wrist after, but, that's no chance that's ever going to get called, and he got the ball first. So,
Marcus Smart didn't get the block on that play. It was whoever was doing the chase down, whether it was Jaylen Brown or Tice. No, because Tice came out for only a quick possession. It was Jaylen Brown or Tatum. But Marcus Smart, he was the only guy back.
He was there.
Unlike last time, he jumped straight up for the challenge, and Norman Powell didn't get a clean shot off it. It came off slow, and then obviously the next defender came in and swatted it pretty aggressively.
Yeah, these moments are all just sort of squished together. I don't want to ever think about them again. My brain is sort of excreting them right now, so it's a weird way of putting it, but you got to give credit to. I wanted to give credit to Marcus Smart. I thought he had a phenomenal series in this one. Obviously, if he doesn't hit those threes in Game 2, this is a completely different series, and same thing. That's not to discredit the Celtics. Same thing if the OG misses those threes, or that 0.5 second three. But Smart was definitely a game changer, and earned a lot of respect from me, and I like the guy as a player in the past. So, shout out to Marcus Smart. Riker, and is there anything more you really want to talk about in this game before we maybe allude to some of the stuff we're going to be talking about over the next however long there is until basketball?
No, not nothing. I don't want to drag this on because we're doing our best here to keep it neutral. I'm guessing that there's not going to be a lot of views, and I can tell you this, I can promise you, I'm not going to be reading the comment section because I don't want to see it, and there'll be a time and a place for criticism on particular players or things that need to happen, but for now, you got to just tip your hat to Boston, wish them the best. I'd guess most people probably don't want Kawhi winning another championship, so, if you want to cheer for Boston, go for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, yeah, I'm not listening to any of the talking heads or anything like that, but the Celtics deserve this series after everything that's gone on. They clearly had the upper hand in this, and I'll peep the comments. You guys are the best for following us now. This entire season, and we really appreciate all the viewers that tuned in just to the playoffs, so the season, the diehards, all that sort of stuff. We really appreciate all the support you guys give us for the podcast. Obviously, we're not super. This is probably one of our least energetic pods since the LeBronto days, so we apologize for that, but we have a lot of exciting stuff coming during this offseason. The vids obviously won't be as consistent because there will be less news and all that. We react to every game, but all breakdowns, all potential players, trades, rumors, draft picks, all that sort of stuff. We're going to be covering that to a T, NBA stuff, and yeah, Riker, Giannis coming maybe this summer.
Well, we'll look to that. There's going to be a lot of talk about that in the offseason. And you know what, Ben? Maybe this is a good time to plug it too. It's probably going to be a bit of a lull now until, we don't even really know, I guess, what next season is going to look like and how, the next bit of offseason and whatnot is going to shape up to be. But if anybody has video ideas or conversations or discussions, hot takes, whatever they'd like to hear us make, reach out to us on the Instagram, email, whatever, and we can pod about that too.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're gonna have to get a bit weird now with the videos, but we don't mind that. We like doing a bit of some different stuff. But the Raptors, some big decisions to be made with this team. Fred's contract is going to be a huge topic of discussion. The bench guys, who do we keep? Who do we let go? Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol, they're both free agents. It could be the last time we see some of these guys in a Raptors jersey. So, Pascal Siakam, do we offer him up to the Bucks? That's something that our halftime chat was filled with in this Game 7 live. So, it's going to be an interesting offseason. I have all faith in Masai Ujiri and Nick Nurse to figure out what the Raptors should do, and we're going to be covering every second of it. But yeah, you guys are the best for making this far through this podcast, through the season. The Raptors, we'll be fine. We'll be good. Masai, the one good thing about following this team is Masai said that we're never going to tank. We're going to continue to rebuild, retool to come back stronger next season, and I'm sure it will happen, Riker.
Yep. And actually, the final point I'd like to finish it off on, Ben, because obviously there's a bit of a Coach of the Year curse. It seems like Mike Budenholzer might be at the end of his leash, Dwayne Casey, George Karl. It's very infamous around the league that the Coach of the Year, they end up getting fired shortly thereafter. I would say that Nick Nurse coached a heck of a series, and he did some things, did some on-the-fly adjustments. It came down to the players more than the coaching in this one, Ben. I would say that his position should be secured. Do you agree with that?
Bro, there's no way we're firing Nick Nurse. That's just
okay, bro. I just want your opinion. Yeah. I just want your opinion.
That's blasphemy, Nick Nurse. Bro. He's the reason we kind of, him and Lowry were the two biggest MVP pieces in this. I guess the real final thing to this, we had three sort of debates after this series going into the series. Is Nick Nurse, Brad Stevens? Who do you think got the better in this series?
Nick Nurse coached a way better series.
Definitely.
That's not me being a homer or biased against or bitter or salty against the Celtics, but the Celtics, by all accounts, they kept the same rotations. They walloped the Raptors in 2 games, couldn't close out 6, kept it close in Game 7, didn't really close out that aggressively. And Nick Nurse, everything against them, kept it close, brought it to 7. He coached the better series for sure.
All right, tough one. Siakam, Tatum, who performed better in this series?
You tell me, Ben.
It's a tough one. I'm gonna chalk it up to Tatum by a large margin because this was a Spicy P's gonna have to come back and maybe win another MIP next season because he played well. He took a great leap this regular season. Fell back to earth. Well, fell down below earth this playoffs, particularly against the Celtics. But we've seen that happen to some players during the bubble. I agree with you on your 2 picks. And the final one, Lowry and Kemba, who solidified themselves after the series.
Oh yeah. Well, Lowry was good, Ben, and yeah. I wouldn't give Pascal Siakam my spare change as a contract, but we might have to revoke the spicy nickname for a little bit and change our spicy Pele segment for next season and give Lowry all of those credits because Lowry, he stepped up, man, and he did it against some very challenging defense against guards that are way bigger than him. You got to give credit to this guy. And Kemba Walker, fantastic, quick. He actually performed decent, I thought, this game in Game 7. But the Raptors, they kind of had him figured out. They had his number. Kyle Lowry, if he didn't get fouled out, who knows? Maybe he could have got that last shot up. But obviously didn't happen. But nothing taken away from his game.
Yeah, no, it's I'm rolling with Lowry. I think Lowry's clearly the better player, but maybe that's Homer bias, maybe that's Lowry bias. That just is what it is. I'm looking at the box score plus minus right now. Gasol minus 19. Probably the last time we're gonna see him, but if he ends up leaving or whatever, we'll make a full video on that. But oh my, it's a heartbreaker. Game 7. It's a tough way to go out. You know I don't even know how to close this a second time, but you're the best to make this far. You know, we're subscribe. Make sure we're trying to reach 15K subs, I guess.
Well, we were trying to reach 15K to get good luck for the finals. Now, whatever. Trickle in if you want to.
Yeah, keep subscribed though. Tell your friends about us. We'd really appreciate it.
Subscribe for the off-season goodness, Ben, because we're gonna get some wholesome content. We're gonna get some wholesome content. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah. On that note, we're signing off here. Any last words, Riker?
That's it, Ben. Cheers.